This is Max and Mia podcast.
What's up, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. Thanks so much for tuning in today, wherever you're listening from.
Yeah, we've got a pretty fun episode lined up, so stick around for a bit, all right?
So Max, how's it going? You look like you didn't sleep much.
You can tell, huh? Yeah, it's been a busy week, but I'm doing okay. What about you? How are you feeling today?
Honestly, pretty good. I'm actually kind of excited about this weekend.
Oh yeah? What do you have going on?
Well, I've been training for a marathon for the past few months, and it's finally happening this Saturday.
Wait, seriously? A full marathon? That's huge.
I know I'm super nervous, but also really pumped. I just hope my legs cooperate.
They better. Honestly, that's impressive. I don't think I could run more than 5 minutes without giving up.
You'd be surprised what you can do when you actually commit to something. Anyway, what about you? Any big plans?
Nothing as intense as running a marathon, that's for sure. I'm just heading out to the countryside with my family. We've got a little place out there, so we'll probably just relax, eat way too much food, and maybe play some board games.
That sounds so peaceful, honestly. Sometimes doing nothing is exactly what you need.
Exactly. I feel like we're always rushing around during the week, so it's nice to slow down for once.
True. It's funny how different our weekends are going to be. Mine's all adrenaline, yours is all relaxation.
Guess we balance each other out.
All right, so now we're curious. What about you, our listeners? What do you usually do on weekends? Are you more of a go out and stay active type, or do you prefer to just chill at home?
Yeah, let us know. What's the one thing you look forward to the most every weekend? We'd love to hear your answers.
And actually, that ties in perfectly with what we're talking about today.
Yep, because today's episode is all about weekend plans, how people spend their free time, and why it matters more than we think.
So let's get right into it. All right, let's start with something simple. Some pretty typical questions that usually come up when we talk about weekends.
Yeah, and by the way, you at home can answer these too, so feel free to think about your own answer as we go through them.
Exactly. So, first one, what does your ideal weekend look like?
Honestly, nothing too crazy. For me, it's just being surrounded by my family, good food, and zero responsibilities.
That's so wholesome. I think people forget how valuable that is. You should really cherish it while you can, because life gets busy and those moments don't come around as often as we'd like.
Exactly. That's actually a good word. Cherish. It basically means to value something a lot, to treat it as really important to you. Like, you could say, I cherish the time I spend with my family. And that already tells you how to use it, not just what it means.
Right. And that's actually a good tip for you at home too. Don't just memorize cherish as a random word on its own. Learn it attached to a full sentence like, I cherish the time I spend with my family, so you remember the structure and not just the word floating by itself.
Totally. Anyway, what about you? What's your version of an ideal weekend?
Honestly, mine changes depending on my mood. Sometimes I want to be productive and go for a long run, but other times I just want to binge a show and not move from the couch all day.
So you're saying you contradict yourself constantly.
Basically, yeah. But I think that's normal, right? Some weekends you need to recharge, and other weekends you need to feel like you accomplished something.
That makes sense. I guess the ideal weekend really depends on what you need in that specific moment.
Okay, Next one. What did your weekends look like when you were a kid?
Oh man, totally different. I remember just being outside all day, riding my bike around the neighborhood until it got dark, and my mom had to call me in for dinner.
Same. No phones, no screens, just running around until you were completely exhausted.
Exactly. And somehow, that never felt boring. Now, if I don't have a plan, I feel restless within like 10 minutes.
Right. Restless is such a good way to put that. When you can't sit still because you feel like you should be doing something, you can use it like, I get restless if I don't have plans on a Saturday.
Perfect example. Anyway, what about you? What were your weekends like?
Mine were pretty similar, actually. My siblings and I used to build these ridiculous forts in the living room and pretend we were camping.
That's adorable. Do you think kids still do that kind of stuff now?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like a lot of that got replaced by tablets and video games, which is kind of sad if you think about it.
That's right. Okay, the next one's a little darker. What's the worst weekend you've ever had?
Oh, that's easy for me. A couple of years ago, I got food poisoning right before a trip I'd been planning for months.
No way. That's brutal.
It really was. I spent the entire weekend in bed instead of actually enjoying the trip. I was so drained, I couldn't even get up to eat anything.
See, drained is such a useful one there too. When you have zero energy left, like your battery hit zero, you could say, I felt completely drained after being sick all weekend.
Exactly. What about you? What's your worst one?
Mine's less dramatic, but my car broke down on a Friday night, and I ended up spending my entire weekend dealing with mechanics instead of actually relaxing.
Ugh, that sounds so frustrating. Especially when you'd probably already planned something better.
Right. It's like the universe just decided to ruin my plans on purpose.
All right, last one. Do you prefer busy weekends or lazy weekends?
Honestly, it depends on the week I've had. But if I had to pick, I'd say lazy weekends win most of the time.
Really? I feel like you'd get bored after like an hour of doing nothing.
Maybe, but I think I need that after a stressful week. What about you?
I'm the opposite. I actually feel more satisfied when my weekend is packed with stuff. If I don't do anything productive, I end up feeling weirdly guilty.
See, that's interesting, because I think a lot of people feel that way, like resting is somehow wasting time.
Right, and it really shouldn't be seen that way. Resting is productive too, just in a different sense.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, so now let's shift gears a bit and get a little more technical. But don't worry, we'll keep it interesting.
Yeah, so basically, whenever we talk about our weekends, we can talk about them in the past, the present, or the future. Today we're going to focus mostly on past and future.
Let's start with the past. A lot of people, when they're describing their weekend, just stick to the simple past the entire time, like, I went here, I did this, it was good. And that's fine, but it gets repetitive fast.
Right, so one easy fix is knowing when to use used to instead of the simple past. We use used to when we're talking about something that happened repeatedly in the past, but doesn't happen anymore. So remember earlier when I said I used to ride my bike around the neighborhood as a kid? That's not just one time, that was a habit back then.
Exactly. Whereas if I say last Saturday I went for a run, that's just one specific moment. So there we use the simple past, not used to.
Right, so the trick is asking yourself, is this something that happened once, or something that kept happening for a while and then stopped. That'll tell you which one fits.
Another thing that helps you sound less basic is upgrading the verbs you use. Instead of always saying went, you could say headed over or ended up going. And instead of it was good, try something like it turned out to be pretty relaxing or it ended up being a disaster, depending on how it actually went.
That's such a good point. Turned out to be is honestly one of my favorite structures because it works when something surprises you, like it wasn't what you expected at first.
Exactly. You could say, I thought the trip would be boring, but it turned out to be one of my favorite weekends.
See, that already sounds way more natural than just saying, it was good.
All right, now let's move on to our first audio of the day. We're going to listen to Anne and David. They're both going to talk about what they did last weekend.
Anne's going to sound a bit more intermediate, and David's going to be a little more basic. Judge for yourselves if you can really tell the difference.
All right, let's listen in.
Hey, Anne, how was your weekend?
It was actually really nice, thanks. I ended up going hiking with a few friends on Saturday. We headed up to this trail I'd never been to before, and it turned out to be way more beautiful than I expected. What about you? How was yours?
Oh, it was good. I just, stayed home mostly. On Saturday, I went to a barbecue at my friend's house. It was fun. We ate a lot of food and just talked.
Nice. That sounds relaxing. Did you do anything on Sunday, or was it more of a chill day?
Yeah, Sunday was chill. I didn't do much. I woke up late, watched some TV, and then in the evening, I went for a walk. It was nice.
That sounds like a solid recovery day after the barbecue. Sundays like that are honestly underrated.
Yeah, totally. What about you? Did you do anything else besides the hike?
Actually, yeah. On Sunday, I met up with my sister for brunch. We hadn't seen each other in ages, so it was really nice catching up. We ended up talking for like 3 hours straight. We didn't even notice the time passing.
Wow, 3 hours. That's a lot.
I know, right? But it was nice because normally our schedules never line up, so this was kind of a rare thing. Anyway, weekends like that make you realize how much you actually miss spending time with people.
Yeah, I get that. I don't see my family that much either, so yeah.
You should try planning something soon then. Even something small. It doesn't have to be a huge deal.
Yeah, maybe I will. Actually, I was thinking of visiting my parents next weekend.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure they'd love that.
Yeah, hopefully. So basically, my weekend was pretty relaxed. Nothing crazy happened. But yours sounds like it had a bit of everything.
I guess it did. Between the hike and the brunch, I feel like I barely had time to just sit around and do nothing. But honestly, I'm not complaining. It ended up being one of those weekends that just flies by because you're enjoying it so much.
That's nice. I feel like my weekends are more like, I don't know, just simple, I guess.
There's nothing wrong with that, though. Simple weekends have their own charm, too. Sometimes doing less is exactly what you need to recharge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what did you guys think? Could you really tell the difference between Anne and David?
I feel like it's pretty noticeable once you pay attention. David kept repeating the same structures over and over, like it was good, I went, it was nice, and that's totally fine. Don't get me wrong, but it does sound a bit flat after a while.
Right. Whereas Anne was mixing things up a lot more, using stuff like ended up going or turned out to be, which just makes everything sound more natural and less repetitive.
Exactly. And honestly, that's not about one being better than the other. It's just about having more tools available so you don't get stuck saying the same 3 sentences every time someone asks about your weekend.
Totally agree. All right, so now let's flip it around and talk about the future, because a lot of people fall into that same trap there too.
Yeah, so usually when people talk about future plans, they just default to I'm going to or I will. And again, that's not wrong. But it gets monotonous fast if that's the only structure you ever use.
Exactly. So one easy upgrade is using I'm planning to or I'm thinking about plus a verb in ing form. So instead of saying I'm going to visit my parents, you could say I'm thinking about visiting my parents, which sounds a bit less certain, more like an idea you're still considering.
Right. And if you want to sound even more natural, you can throw in I might when you're not fully sure yet. Like, I might go to the beach this weekend. I haven't decided. That shows you're still weighing your options.
And if you're actually excited about something, I can't wait to is such a great structure. Instead of just saying, I'm going to go to the concert, you could say, I can't wait to go to the concert, and that already tells people how you feel about it, not just what you're doing.
That's such a good point, because the structure itself carries emotion. You don't need extra words to explain that you're excited.
Exactly. So instead of the same 3 I'm going to sentences the entire episode, you've now got several options depending on how certain or excited you actually are.
All right, time for our second audio of the day. This time we've got Mark and Emily, and they're going to talk about what they've got planned for next weekend.
Both of them are around an intermediate level here. So let's see how naturally they use some of that future language we just went over.
Hey, Emily, do you have any plans for next weekend? Or is it still up in the air?
Kind of both, honestly. I'm thinking about going to visit my cousin. She just moved to a new apartment, and I really want to see the place before things get too hectic with work. What about you?
Oh, nice. I'm actually planning to go camping with a couple of friends, assuming the weather cooperates. We've been talking about it for weeks, so I really hope it doesn't fall through.
That sounds fun. Where are you guys thinking of going?
There's this spot near a lake about 2 hours from here. Apparently the views are incredible. I can't wait to just disconnect for a couple of days. No phone, no notifications, nothing.
Honestly, that sounds amazing. I could really use a break like that too. But I feel like my weekend's going to be more low-key.
Yeah? What else are you thinking of doing besides visiting your cousin?
Well, I might squeeze in a bit of shopping too, since I still need to get a gift for my mom's birthday. But I haven't fully decided when I'll do that yet.
Makes sense. Are you dreading it, or do you actually enjoy shopping for gifts?
A bit of both, honestly. I love finding the perfect thing, but I hate how long it usually takes me to decide.
I feel that. I'm the complete opposite. I just buy the first decent thing I see and call it a day.
That explains a lot, actually. Anyway, are you bringing any equipment, or is everything already sorted for the camping trip?
Mostly sorted, yeah. I'm just planning to grab a few extra supplies on the way, like food and stuff. Nothing too complicated.
Sounds like you've got it pretty figured out already.
I hope so. Last time we went camping, we completely forgot the tent poles. So this time, I'm being extra careful.
Wait, how do you even forget tent poles?
Honestly, no idea. But we ended up sleeping basically under the stars that night, so it wasn't all bad, just unexpected.
That's actually kind of a funny story now, even if it probably wasn't in the moment.
Exactly. It's one of those things you laugh about later. Anyway, I'm hoping this trip goes a bit smoother.
I'm sure it will. And hey, if it doesn't, at least you'll have another story to tell.
True. So what time are you thinking of heading to your cousin's place?
Probably sometime in the morning, so we have the whole day to catch up and maybe grab lunch somewhere nearby.
That sounds really nice, honestly. Simple plans like that are underrated.
Agreed. I feel like people always think a good weekend has to be packed with stuff, but sometimes just seeing someone you care about is enough.
Couldn't agree more. All right, well, I hope the weather holds up for both of us.
Same here. Let's catch up after and compare notes.
Okay, so that one was interesting, right? Both Mark and Emily sounded pretty comfortable using those future structures we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Neither of them just stuck to I'm going to the whole time. They were mixing in I'm thinking about, I might, I can't wait to, which honestly made the whole conversation flow a lot better.
Exactly. And it didn't feel forced either. It just sounded like two people naturally talking about their plans, uncertainty and all.
Right? And I think that's the key thing here. You don't need to sound 100% certain about everything. Real plans are messy, you're not always sure. And using stuff like I might or I'm thinking about actually reflects that better than always saying I will.
Totally agree. Plus, it's a good reminder that grammar isn't just about being correct, it's about actually sounding like a real person.
Exactly. All right, so that wraps up our little grammar deep dive for today.
So, quick recap of everything we covered today. We started off talking about our own weekend plans, Mia's marathon, and my little trip to the countryside. And then we jumped into some classic weekend questions, like your ideal weekend, your childhood weekends, your worst one, and whether you prefer busy or lazy weekends.
After that, we got a bit more technical and talked about how to avoid sounding too basic when describing your weekend in the past, using things like used to and upgrading verbs like went or it was good.
Then we listened to Anne and David to compare a more basic level with a more intermediate one. And after that, we moved into the future, learning structures like I'm planning to, I'm thinking about, I might, and I can't wait to.
And finally, we heard Mark and Emily putting all of that into practice with a really natural conversation about their upcoming weekend plans.
All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for sticking with us until the very end. We really appreciate it.
Seriously, thank you. And if you enjoyed this one, keep learning, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to actually use these structures in real conversations. That's honestly the fastest way to make them stick.
Also, if you haven't already, go check out our previous episode with Matthew and Rachel. They talked all about how to study correctly to learn English, and honestly, a lot of what they shared applies to learning pretty much anything, not just English.
Definitely worth a listen. And hey, we'd also love for you to join our YouTube community. Besides helping us keep this project going, we're uploading videos focused on skills that, alongside English, can really help you out in different areas, whether that's work, personal growth, or just life in general.
So go check that out. It'd mean a lot to us. All right, that's all for today.
Thanks again for listening. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
See you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.